Hey there, guys. We've got some new battles on the JP server for the new event with like Saul, Reagan, DLCS, etc. It's a new story event. But there's 3 new battles, and we've also got the new Chamber of Arms battle. I'm going to be doing the Chamber of Arms stuff in a different video with the new updated stuff. But for this one, we're going to be doing the Bahamut, the Babel, and the Ultima Weapon EX battles for this event. So we're going to start with Silver Crowns for Physalis. We're going to level 4. The boss is Ultima Weapon. It's a dragon demon, and you can only take general lineage units with you. I've already got the filter set up. These are my personal general lineage units. So Crimson Rain, Vlad, a bunch of 5 stars that no one cares about. The free Reagan, Robo Roca, General Fina, Physalis, and then Diosius. Yeah, you can only build a team from these units. And if you don't have things like Rain and Diosius, it's probably kind of tricky. But I do have them, so we're going to use them. So this is the party we're going to use for the Ultima Weapon fight. Okay, so turn 1, he does a bunch of physical damage and some AoE magic. We're going to use Diosius to double Mirage. There's an AoE physical, and then there's some single target physicals that ignore Provoke. So we're going to double Mirage, we're going to 150 Amp, and Dark Imperil. Reagan is going to do, not that. Reagan's going to do his buff, Fire Imperil, and his 150 Amplify. That is not Reagan, that is Rain. Yeah, 150 Amplify. We're going to use someone with the debuff tag, which is, Flame Veritas, C-Card, etc. It's any of the units of the General's lineage that has the Breaker tag, and give them one of the 85 break materials. Doesn't matter which one. The element doesn't matter. It's any of them, and break by 85%. Now we're going to use General Fina to do AoE stat and LB buff. We're going to use AoE magic mitigation, and we're going to do, just in case, AoE break immunity and all that. And then on this first turn, Vlad can guard, or you can just, imperil the boss to darkness. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so it's going to be an AoE physical, then some single target physical that ignores Provoke. As long as it doesn't go to the same person, you're fine. And some AoE magic. The magic is actually not that bad. And we got mitigations from Fina. Okay, now we're going to use Vlad to put up another Dark Imperil with his field. You could also use Vlad to like cap and all that. We don't need it, so I'm not bothering, but you could definitely set up Vlad to do actual damage. We're not using Flame Veritas. Okay, Fina, though, is going to do AoE Demon Killer, AoE Dragon Killer, and then we're going to do a 250 single target Demon Killer on Diosius to give him a big Demon Killer. Because the boss is fire resistant, so Rain is actually kind of nerfed here, but he is not dark resistant. Now we're going to shift Diosius. No, Diosius' LB is not stacked up. That's okay. And we're going for the kill. So here we go. And then the big caps at the end. Boom. Done. Handled. There is our Silver Crown Physalis fight. Now, I realize that's probably not easy to copy if you don't have EX2, Diosius, and Crimson Rain. Understandable. But for the most part, I only really do budget videos on the global server, so yeah. So there is the damage breakdown. Like I said, the boss is heavily fire resistant, so Rain pretty much nerfed there, but we got it done. So there we go. And got our Silver Crowns for Physalis, and her crowns are bad, so useless. But we did it anyway. Let me go ahead and use some energy. We're gonna be doing more stuff. I'm gonna show you the team real quick, then I'm gonna go change the team for the next fight. So Vlad, just a little bit of spirit, and really doesn't matter. Don't use needles because we're using double Mirage on someone else. Shift form naked. You could gear him for damage, and on turn 1 you could do his field. On turn 2 you could do his cap. If you need more DPS, whatever. I didn't need it. She's our passive provoker. Honestly, I don't know if that even matters. We're using Obsidian Bracer. Really, she's here for buffing, like tons of buffing and killers and all that. LB damage buff, stat buff, killer buff. All that. A lot of buffing on Fina. She has all the right killers. It's obviously made for her. It is the General's lineage event. Flame Veritas only chose because he has the debuff tag. Literally anyone that has a debuff tag is fine. So like Flame Veritas, Saul has the debuff tag. C-Card does. Any of them. All that really matters is we gave them an 85 break materia. And yeah, you could also break with Crimson Rain if you really wanted to. He has 85s too, but whatever. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Crimson Rain didn't use the base form. Shift form, 14,000 attack power, maxed on everything. You know, maxed Demon, maxed Dragon, maxed LB. There we go. And we bursted with his 150 amp. Deoceus base form, kind of whatever. Double Mirage. Shift form is maxed on everything. And he did the most damage. And there we go. Let me change the team for the next fight. Alright guys, next up we're going to go to the Babel fight. This is the Giant of Babel, and there's a mission for only taking General's lineage units. You can take off units if you want, we're not going to. So it's a machine, and he's a little bit of a headache doing it with this team, but we're going to knock it out. So we're using the same party, but you can take friends to the Babel and the Bahamut fight, so that's good. Now, turn 1, the boss is extremely RNG in what he does. Also, he has permanent magic immunity, so you can't use magic damage on him at all. You got to use only physical attacks. Turn 1 is very RNG. If he does physical, we're fine. If he does magic, we probably have to retreat and come back in. So let's give it a go. So we're going to AoE Mirage with Vlad. We're going to break the boss with Veritas. And we're going to do Stop Immunity with Fina. We're going to do a Stat and LB buff with Fina. And we're going to do a Machine Killer with Fina. And then we're going to LB Rain and Deoceus in the shift form and Deoceus in the shift forms. We're going to do all the LBs. And we're going to hope and pray that the boss does not do a bunch of magic on turn 1. He does 2 attacks always. It's random what he does. Single target physical, AoE physical. We are golden. Okay, so now we're going to use Deoceus's... okay, first of all, we're going to use Fina to physical, magical, mitigate, and we're going to AoE re-raise just in case. We're going to guard these two because we're taking a big hit this turn, and we're going to have Rain, 150 amp, Fire Imperil, and do his buff, while the Deoceus's will 150 amp and do a buff. This turn is a fixed attack, and the boss will gain a defense buff on this turn. The fixed attack is not too bad. Yeah, it's relatively minor. Okay, but he has a defense buff. Thankfully, that defense buff can be dispelled. So we're going to dispel it right here. Boom, done. Now we're going to use another breaker materia to break the boss again. And we're going to use Vlad to Dark Imperil the boss. And the boss is permanently or undispellably fire imperiled from the Obsidian Bracer. So now we're going to go ahead and do our burst after re-breaking the boss and all. So you can see we have 460 killer, the boss is at negative 120 resist, and 85 breaks. So we have 150 amplify, and this should be the end of the Giant of Babel. Done, handled, turn 3. So we, no deaths, no continues, and only general lineage units. So Vlad is, again, just a little bit of mitigation and using 1,000 needles. Fina, passive provoke evasion with the Obsidian Bracer, and she does buffing. Veritas is using 2 different sources of breaks. So we've got one of the breaker materials and another breaker material. So we have to dispel and recast another one. And I gave him Guts because he is only a 5-star. Rain, same build basically, just gave him maxed out Machine Killer. And then Deoceus, same build, maxed out Machine Killer. And here's the friend. Little bit low on Machine Killer at 250, but Deoceus does have Omni Killer, so as long as you find a Deoceus on Bahamut, they're going to have 250. So, yeah. And there it is. There's the all mission on Giant of Babel. I think that was all missions. Yeah, should have been. So we'll check the damage breakdown, and then we'll work on the Bahamut fight. And then after that, we get to work on the Sheraton Chamber of Arms. And big sad face. My Deoceus did pretty bad. Variants. Anyway, there it is. See you in a moment for Bahamut. Alright guys, next up is going to be the Bahamut fight, and this one is in my opinion the hardest of all. We're taking general lineage units only, and this time Bahamut is a pure dragon. We're going to take a Scarlet Rain. This is the party we're going to go with. Let's give it a go and see if we can knock this out. I'm trying to work this out. He's kind of obnoxious. He's got a break gauge. He dispels your party. He does a ton of damage, etc. So we're going to start off with Diosius, dual-wielding swords for the break gauge bonus. Triple cast his Dark Imperil. We're going to do a break from a materia with Veritas of the Flame. Fina is going to Shelga the party, rolling amplify my Scarlet Rain, and then we're going to do a stat and LB buff as well. Rain and Diosius are starting in the base form for auto buffing, and then going to the shift where we're going to amplify, attack, and do this. You know what we should do is amplify, stat buff, and chain. Amplify, stat buff, and chain, while Diosius will start in the base. Go to the shift. We're going to amplify. It's only human killer. Amplify and do that. Alright. Go ahead and chain this up a little bit. Barely any damage. Whatever, it's fine. Okay, so now it's RNG what element he uses to attack us. Hopefully it's fire. It looks like it was water. That's fine. We gutsed it on Veritas of the Flame, so whatever. Okay, now we're going to use dual-wielded barrage with swords on both of these units and burst or get rid of the boss's break gauge, because my units are on Espers with break gauge bonus learn, so it'll be a ton of extra damage. The friend is not, unfortunately, but, you know, you do what you can. So now we're going to use Dragon Killer with Fina. We're going to heal the party and then kind of do whatever. And now we're going to burst as hard as we as we can right now. So let's go ahead and hit it, and we'll see what kind of damage we deal. Hopefully it's a lot. 15%, that's fine. Okay, so here is the boss's, because we broke the gauge, we interrupted him and stunned him, but he completely dispelled us. We lost all our buffs. Very unfortunate. So what we're going to do, we're going to shift Diosius and then just use his LB to put up the field. We're going to use Fina to do a fire imbue on the party. We're going to I guess double bolting, whatever. And then you can't really do anything. I guess you could do an 80% attack buff for the friend who doesn't have a buff. Okay, so we're going to LB Diosius, and then the range are just going to triple Absolute Mirror of Equity, and, you know, hopefully this finishes off the boss, because if not, he's attacking us again, and that will be bad. There we go, that worked out. Okay, that was the last of the missions. So, party was dual-wielding swords with barrage on Veritas, I'm sorry, on Vlad, and he was our Dark Imperil unit. Fina is just passive provoke evasion with a lot of spirit, and she is our provoker and buffer with all the buffs. Veritas of the Flame, dual-wielding swords on a barrage, break materia, and guts. He does need guts because he will die otherwise. Scarlet Rain is on an Esper with break node learned, so is my Diosius, Ashura, and Bahamut. Maxed LB damage versus dragons, and there we go. Diosius, maxed LB damage versus dragons. Oh, by the way, base form, he's using Auto Bravery. My Diosius base form is using Auto Bravery and Auto Amplified Dark. And then the friend is kind of generically geared. Not maxed on Dragon Killer, and no auto buffing, and he doesn't have any break gauge learned. But whatever, it's a random friend, and it was good enough. So we beat it, got all missions, and that was the Bahamut fight. That was the last of the EX stages. I think probably later I'm going to work on Sheraton. Kind of running out of time here. But Yeah, that was the EX fights, and now we have the, yeah, as you can see, the Friend Scarlet Rain compared to my Scarlet Rain, kind of a big difference. You really want to learn those break gauge bonuses on your Espers. They're a tremendous deal when a boss has a break gauge. Like, it's the biggest damage increase in the entire game. Anyway, that was the last of the EX stages. See you in a bit.